In the spotlight tonight, the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform will vote tomorrow on the revised Simpson-Bowles proposal to reduce the deficit by $3.8 trillion by 2020. As of today, a majority of the 18 members support the proposal, though not the 14 necessary to formally recommend it to Congress. Republican Senator Mike Crapo said the proposal is painful and will raise heartburn. Democratic Senator Kent Conrad said, "I certainly would have done some things differently if I were writing it myself." Republican Senator Judd Gregg said, "It's got warts." And yet, despite those objections, all three will vote yes tomorrow. Republican Senator Tom Coburn explained why.
I would have written a totally different plan. I would have eliminated the income tax completely, and we'd gone to a national sales tax. And we wouldn't be a Medicare tax, and there wouldn't be a Social Security tax. We wouldn't have done this at all. I can't have my way. But our country deserves us to sacrifice, like the call we're going to make to everybody else to sacrifice, to accomplish what we have to accomplish, and that is to get out of this hole.
All three House Republicans on the commission will vote no because, according to incoming House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan, the proposal, quote, entrenches Obamacare. What about the objections from the left? Democratic Representative Jan Schakowsky will also vote no tomorrow. Joining me now, Representative Jan Schakowsky. Congressman Schakowsky, the one thing I fully respect about your position in voting no on this is that you are not just voting no, you have offered an alternative, an alternative that is a full package. The easiest thing for any one of you to do, I think, as some of the other senators have pointed out, is to find the different individual items in this package that they object to. And the reason I ran Tom Coburn's the announcement about what he would do if left in a room alone to do it is that it would be a very crazy plan that came out. But we had Kent Conrad here last night, Democrat in the Senate, Budget Committee Chairman. He says there are things in here he doesn't like, but in order to move an agreement forward, he got on board. What was it that prevented you from approaching this the way Senator Conrad did, which is to say, accept some number of things that you really don't like, and by the way, would have the right to try to change afterwards, but to add your agreement to the group in order for some momentum to move forward?
Because this plan, the Fiscal Commission says that the nation is on an unsustainable fiscal path. And that's true. They're talking about the debt and the deficit. But there's another thing that is a very destructive path, and that is the squeezing of the middle class, the pain that the middle class is caused by this plan that it doesn't need to. We don't need to ask senior citizens to pay more for Medicare. We don't need to cut Social Security benefits. We don't need to cut nutrition and education and job training programs. Lawrence, they talk about shared sacrifice as if everyone has to pay their share. Well, you know what? The middle class has more than sacrificed over the last 20 years, certainly over the Bush years, where almost all of the increase in wealth in this country went to the top. Well, now they talk about shared sacrifices as if everybody has got to step up and pay for the party that only a few Americans really enjoyed. And I think that's just the wrong way to go. That's why I offered a different kind of plan that said, yes, we can, in fact, balance the budget. We can reduce our debt and our deficit, but we don't have to take it out of the hides of middle and low-income people.
Now, you and others have made the point that the Commission didn't really have to look into Social Security solvency in order to deal with balancing the budget over a 10-year window, but they did. And so in doing so, now let's, for the moment, and I agree with that, they didn't have to, but let's talk about Social Security solvency going forward. Dick Durbin, I think in a surprise, a Democratic progressive senator, has said that the Commission's proposal to raise the retirement age to 69 by 2075 was not radical. He says it's acceptable to him. It includes a provision, an exception for people engaged in manual labor to get an earlier retirement. Do you think that it is possible in the package that will have to be done eventually for solvency for Social Security to include that kind of increase in the retirement age as a possible element?
Well, the bad news is that not everybody does live longer. And if you're poor, you just don't. And you have to happen to be a poor woman. In fact, poor women have lost years or have lost longevity over the last little while. And so I would say that looking at raising the age of retirement, making a janitor or a nurse's aide work longer so that a hedge fund manager can live longer because they're richer, I think, again, is the wrong way to go. But they do other things to cut Social Security, like change the cost of living adjustment and put it downward. And so those people who are retiring some years from now could actually see a third decrease in their Social Security benefit from what they would get if it remained as it is today.
Well, I'm the last one to defend hedge fund managers, but it is worth pointing out when we're discussing Social Security that every one of them will pay into Social Security much more than they get out. So they are not costing Social Security anything. They're going to be contributing more than they get out. We've crossed that line in the system now where the top payers pay more than they get back. It is not a good deal for them to be in it at all. But let's go over to the tax strategy that's going on in the House right now. That vote that you cast today, some say is a symbolic vote, that you're going to have to come back at this eventually with some kind of compromise coming out of the Senate. What is the style of compromise that you can imagine coming out of the Senate that you might be able to vote for on tax rates for next year?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I won't be able to vote for a package that doesn't include the extension of unemployment insurance benefits. I mean, it's just outrageous to even discuss keeping taxes lower for the richest Americans and yet cutting not extending unemployment insurance benefits. And it's not just for the 2 million people that have lost their benefits. It's for our economy. It's going to be good they'll go out and spend the money.
Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.